Welcome to TMZ Live. Harvey Levin here.
Charles here.
So, an Ugly Betty star in an ugly, ugly bar fight.
Yes, one that landed him in jail. Eric Mabius, who was the lead, was Ugly Betty's love interest on the show. Yeah, that's how his night went after he was in a Florida bar with his girlfriend.
Do they put you in orange immediately before they take the picture?
Listen,
no, I'm actually serious.
I don't know.
No, because all of the mugs we've seen, they're street clothes. I mean, most of the mugs are street clothes. That's
not this county. I looked through a bunch of mugshots.
Oh, really?
They're wearing that.
Oh, interesting.
Outfit, yeah.
Okay, so anyway,
we digress because we got video of the fight that landed Eric Mabius in jail, and it all started when they're at this bar, and his girlfriend ends up spitting on another patron, the guy in the white hat. You're going to see this all play out here, but they apparently had been asked to leave the establishment, and then she gets into it with this guy, and poor Eric Mabius, you'll notice, is on crutches.
And it seems like he's trying to break up the fight, kind of, right?
Kind of, although the police didn't see it that way because he was arrested for battery. And you can see in the fight there, he was using his phone to hit the girl who was attacking his girlfriend.
Can I just stop you? I know you're in the middle of this.
But
if they arrested
on crutches.
I know, but if they arrested him, why wouldn't they arrest her?
His girlfriend.
They both were arrested.
Well, at least that's justice.
Yeah. So Charles, we don't know if it's his girlfriend. It seems to be his girlfriend or someone that he was with at the bar.
A female friend at the very least.
Yes, but I mean, rule number one is you never get in between two women fighting.
Oh, are we doing Fight Club now? Rule number one.
That was a terrible
idea. Watch how quickly the other one puts down her purse. All right, it's on.
But according to
hold on, Devin, this woman had to be arrested as well. No.
Well, the woman he was with was arrested, and then he was arrested. No one else at the bar, according to the police report, were arrested. That woman actually was listed as the victim in all this, and she had said, at least that's what she told cops, that he allegedly had pulled her hair while they're on the ground and had ripped her hair out. So obviously cops were called. They were both arrested for battery.
Wait. So the woman who in the black hair was listed as the victim. Wasn't she the one that threw the first punch?
Exactly, because what happens here, we'll break it down. See, she goes in the gray sweater, black hair. She's throwing punches. Eric comes in with his phone, trying to break it up, hits her a couple times while they're on the ground.
She started the fight.
But apparently the girl that Eric was with spit on them. So don't you always say that if you spit on someone, that's technically assault,
I know,
right?
but Devin, she spit on the guy, not her.
Right,
but
that's what I understand.
According to the police report, they basically told cops that she spit on multiple people. So maybe you just can't see it in the video, or maybe they lied. I don't know what's going on, but it was a bad situation.
But the other woman does react immediately, but it didn't seem like, there's no way she spit on both of them.
Yeah, it's like she started the fight.
Your spit isn't like shotgun spray.
No,
it doesn't.
She started the. Oh, and you see him beating her. You see him beating her.
Yeah.
What was this? When they were asked to leave the bar, was alcohol involved?
Never. No, yeah. The bartender said that they were both very intoxicated and they were asked to leave multiple times. And it appears like that guy that was sitting at the bar must have said something to her, and that's why she spit on him. So.
Wow.
Yeah, my name is Lindsay. I live in Tampa, Florida. I live about 3 hours from Jacksonville, where this altercation took place. Not one part of me is shocked that it happened in the state of Florida.
Oh my God, it happened in Florida. Imagine.
Yeah.
A bar fight could break out like this any day of the week. Bystanders are either going to A, ignore it and act like it's not happening directly in front of them, or just jump in all at once. There's no in between. In this case, looks like Eric was attempting to stop said fight in the moment, but unfortunately got hit with that unlucky outcome at the end of the night.
Yeah. I would advise him to keep those crutches for court. Just a little sympathy.
Yeah, what the sympathy thing?
Little sympathy.
The sympathy factor. Okay, we're going to move on.
Yes, to Eric and Lyle Menendez and their first interview together in decades.
They've never done an interview together behind bars.
They weren't even together until a few years ago. So this interview that you and Mark Garagos did on your podcast, Two Angry Men, obviously Mark Garagos is representing them in their efforts to get out of prison at this hearing next month. So they are clearly thinking about what happens if they get out. and what they want to do with their lives, and laid out a lot of this for you guys. And it has to do with a lot of the things that they've been doing in prison, which clearly they have, Mark Garagos has already said, this is part of the reason they believe they should be released, because
they're rehabilitated.
Completely rehabilitated based on the amount of things they've accomplished during their 30-plus years in prison, arguably more than a lot of people do out of prison.
So we talked to them about this, and again, to me, the big thing is this, that when you get life without the possibility of parole and you exhaust your appeals, you're basically coming out of there in a body bag when you die. And do you have the incentive to better yourself, to do good things? I don't know that I would do what they did, but we got into it. You guys have done things in that prison that really kind of, for me, kind of shock me, that it's trying to make your life productive. How do you do that?
Well, that was a journey. So I didn't start out with that mindset, helping others go through that journey and realize that they're not flawed and defective just because of the traumas of their childhood. It's frankly something that is extremely rewarding. It's what I want to do for the rest of my life, and that's what gives me hope. I started a hospice program right here, a life care and hospice, where we talk about growing older, the struggles that you have, and dealing with disability and with life-limiting illnesses. I want to and fully intend to be working with that community, and I want to continue the AVP program, the Alternative to Violence program that we're doing in here. I want to do that out there. But the primary focus for me is the childhood trauma community. I want to be an advocate for people that are suffering in silence.
Yeah, I mean, they want to continue what they're doing inside, whether they get out or not. But if they get out, if you listen to the full podcast, you will hear, Eric is so passionate about the childhood trauma part, and Lyle too. But these two are different people from the people I covered during that trial.
I had to say, like, some of those programs, even I had never even thought about, obviously I'm not in prison, so I'm not even thinking about this, that there are people who are aging and either have illnesses or just getting closer to the end of life, and
have no
relatives there, and so having a hospice program for them
is more important than a hospice program outside, where at least you have relatives and doctors around.
I don't know if I'd say it's more important.
I say more important because it's the only thing you've got, is what I'm saying. At least you have family on the outside.
Sometimes.
There's also a real effort. I think they were really talking about an effort to just make prison life less insufferable for a lot of people, many of whom are going to, the vast majority of whom are going to get out. Green spaces, getting rid of just the concrete jungle that defines most prison spaces, to make it something more communal. And I know that a lot of people react negatively. They say, if you're in prison, you deserve all the punishment you're going to get. But we're relying on these people to come out and be better members of society. In the vast majority of cases, let's try and do the little things that can accomplish that.
Sage from Long Island, New York. I totally agree. I see them doing so many amazing things in that community in jail, and I see that they want to bring it outside. So I am very excited to see what they do if they were to get out. They prove themselves constantly with just all the things that they're doing in the prison, how they want to better people, better themselves, help the children that have gone through what they're going through. And overall, I'm just so excited and just proud that they are so positive in such a tough time, and it just proves that in a tough situation, people can come out on top and just grow stronger.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think it will be interesting to see how much. I think their track record in prison is clear. What I'm not clear on is how much weight the judge is going to give that in making this decision.
Well, that's supposed to be what the judge considers. That and whether
the bigger thing here
it's not about the murder. You don't consider
I'm not saying it's the murder, but it's resentencing, right?
It's resentencing.
And the resentencing is based on whether or not the new evidence is taken into consideration.
They take the new evidence into consideration, but the big thing is, have they been rehabilitated in light of the new evidence, and are they a threat to society?
The only reason I think that the new evidence has to be
it's a factor.
A big factor is, otherwise anybody,
No,
regardless of what your sentence is, would be like, well,
it's totally a factor. If you reach the threshold, the issue isn't they killed their parents. The issue is, are they rehabilitated and are they a danger to society? We will see. The hearing's next month. Taking a break.
All right. When we come back, DJ Khaled gets an absolutely morbid, arguably threatening prank pulled on him at his house. We're going to show you what someone delivered there, which, listen, if DJ Khaled took this as a threat, I would not blame him. You're going to see it when we come back. Someone has an absolutely twisted sense of humor, and DJ Khaled was the target of that alleged humor because someone sent.
Why do you say twisted?
This is not.
I think it's
funny.
funny. I think it'd be funny. I think it'd be funnier if it were an authentic piece.
Well, here's the thing: Khaled kind of put himself in the middle of the Drake Kendrick Lamar beef. I think unintentionally. He had revealed that he has an album coming out soon that he said is going to be featuring Drake. Now, Drake kind of responded to that saying, Drake who? I don't know anything about that, which also seemed weird, but that's the background before this was delivered to Khaled's house. You see that someone's driving by and has the photo there, a coffin left outside his gate that says RIP OVO, and Drake's name is on the side. I guess you could say it's more of a threat to Drake.
It's not
than
a
anything.
threat. It's funny. It's funny. They should have done a real casket.
All right.
It's an elaborate hoax, like it appears to be a gift, rest in peace Drake, rest in peace King Von, to Tekashi's house,
So hold on, before you get to that's before we get to King Von, because I want people to be clear on why King Von is even involved in this. So a couple of days before this casket was delivered to Khaled's house, Tekashi, who also lives in Florida, got a similar coffin delivered to his house, and it said R.I.P. King Von. King Von, who of course was it last year or the year before when he was killed? And Tekashi had some beef with him, so that one seems more threatening because someone actually was killed.
Right,
and they're referencing that.
If it was a threat, it would be a threat to them. It would say rest in peace Tekashi or rest in peace DJ Khaled. This is just a hip hop hoax.
No. Unless the person who died is so aligned with the person who's still living that the person who's living is thinking, oh crap, I'm getting coffins at my house. I mean, at a point, a coffin becomes a threat, and a threat becomes an assault, and that's a criminal case.
Right.
This with Khaled is not.
I get you on the Khaled one. I don't know. I don't want to walk out and have coffins on my front doors.
But it's funny. If
it was Halloween, all right, I'd be like, I get it.
Again, I would do a pine coffin, and if you're going to go with the joke, you should go with it all the way. But it's not a threat if it's clearly, oh, guess who won the rap beef and who lost?
Everyone taking note of this?
Well, connecting the dots, it seems to be like a Florida rap thing. This has only happened in Florida so far. And, with Tekashi connected, all signs point that he might be the culprit.
Brian from St. Louis, Missouri. And however you spin it, a casket at your front door is definitely more than concerning. Honestly, wow.
Oh, yeah. Would that freak you out? It's a joke.
But you also do have to remember that in the Drake and Kendrick beef, and Kendrick was never connected to any of that, but there were people who were actually shot outside Drake's house.
I get it, but look, at a point, it's not always an assault. It's clearly a joke. Okay.
See how much you're laughing. Because I got some plans. All right. When is sport way more than sport?
Oh my God.
Last night in Boston, it was in the Four Nations Face-Off finale, the final between USA and Canada. I'm sure you've heard Canada won in overtime 3-2, but this from the get-go was about way more than sports because
the tariffs. Donald Trump.
Tariffs.
Donald Trump turning it into a 50th state.
President Trump issuing lots of big talk about Canada. And right before the game, he kind of reminded everybody of that, which definitely amped things up. He posted, "I'll be calling our great American hockey team this morning to spur them on toward he said towards, it should be toward, victory tonight against Canada. And then he added, which with far lower taxes and much stronger security will someday, maybe soon, become our cherished and very important 51st state.
Okay, I want to say
Here's the thing.
I want to say he's got to be kidding. But
We know he's not kidding,
anymore.
but talk about giving them like bulletin board material. They got to print that out and put it up in their locker room if you're Canada, right?
And you got to fight for Canada.
Right. You go out and you fight for Canada, and the U.S. ended up losing. By the way, after the game, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister,
this is hysterical,
kind of dunked on Trump. He said, "You can't take our country, and you can't take our game."
Boom.
Wow.
That's game, set, match.
And I'd say,
stop
it
What
really.
do you mean, no, stop?
First of all, he is absolutely hated in Canada. I'm not so sure that if you polled the Canadian players, they wouldn't want
This
to be
might
a
help
part of
his numbers
US.
in Canada. I don't know.
Honestly, that did cross my mind, Charles. It was a good moment for him, and I really, honestly, I would have loved to seen Donald Trump's reaction when he either was watching the game or he found out that the U.S. lost, and he had to know what was coming, and he had to know that Trudeau was going to troll him, and he did, and he did it effectively.
Let's be fair, Mike. If the U.S. had won, you know exactly what Trump would have been put.
You're so right. So Charles is, so
he's
Charles,
getting a little bit of his own medicine.
Yeah, and he's got to take it, Charles. I mean, if you dish it out, you got to be willing to take it, and Donald Trump's got to take his medicine today.
Is he on a bit of a losing streak?
Yeah,
when it comes to sports?
Well, no, it's true. He was all in with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
He was all in with the Chiefs, Babcock.
We know how that turned out.
He was.
And then he made this phone call to Team USA before this game.
He did.
Are you calling him a jinx?
I doubt that's the word.
Hey, you used the word. I didn't say it.
You called Kim Kardashian a jinx way back in the day.
You said that. He wasn't working here when...
He was working in a bar, and I'm sure he called Kim a jinx. Okay?
Andy, Toronto. Look, if there are two things that Canadians take extremely seriously, it's our hockey and our Canadian pride. And our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, he was echoing what the entire nation was feeling last night when we won. We needed that win, and we did it in OT, baby. And you were right. Trump, he can dish it out better than most. So let's see if he can take another hit or two.
How would you feel if if they call it like Super North Dakota?
Dude,
we're Canada.
You're not helping.
We're always going to be Canada. We're never going to be a 51st state. It's a joke. Trump needs to get over it.
We love you, Canada. We love you.
We do.
Super North Dakota.
We're going to take a break.
When we come back, you want to head up to Super North Dakota in a flying car?
Oh, yeah.
It is a reality now. Approval for this vehicle. The video is going viral. How does it work? How much does it cost? And when will you be able to get it? There are already hundreds of people lining up for it. We're going to be joined by the man who created it to get some answers when we come back.
TMZ's got every freaking thing. Big celebs, big stories, big events.
Actually, Pitt got in another accident.
At what point does Angelina go, I'm not going to give you your inheritance this week?
Siobhan, how many accidents have you had?
Siobhan, it's TMZ.
It's happening. It is happening. We have spoken for a couple of years now, at least a couple of years, about flying cars.
A couple of years?
I mean,
I was a kid
on
when the
show.
Jetsons came out.
I meant on this show.
The Jetsons is all I've been thinking about all my life.
Okay, I'm sorry to have triggered you. Yes, well, I also have been watching the Jetsons all my life and thought flying cars, not going to happen. There's a video going around now that, I'll be honest, a lot of people, when I first saw it, I thought, this isn't real. This is some sort of, trick or AI or something. It is, but you see this video, which has gone, viral as you'd expect on TikTok and X, and people are, look at that.
I don't know how that even.
It is a flying car that has actually been given all government clearance to take off. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, you can't go run out and buy it today. You can get on the waiting list, which is growing by the day, to get one of these. It's from a company called Aleph Aeronautics. They are based here in California, and their CEO is joining us right now, Jim Duchovny. Jim, welcome to TMZ Live. You got a hot product on your hands, but we got to know how it works.
Sure. So if you take existing car, just a regular car, and it does function as any EV, similar as Tesla, Lucid, or any other car, you take engine up front, and instead you put 4 smaller engines and 4 wheels. In a space which is left, you put DEP. It's called distributed electric propulsion, which means 8 propeller, speed controller, motor, battery systems, independent systems. And the top of the car, you make a mesh. Mesh allows the airflow to go through, and you also make the sides of the car in a specific airfoil, which act as the wing. You're showing right now, some of the things you're showing is CGI, some of the showing is real. Whatever right now, it's actually the real video. Some other parts are CGI, but I think it's kind of clear to people which is CGI and which is actually real.
It seems like the aerodynamics of this more like a helicopter than an airplane.
Well, it actually has 3 modes. It has the car mode, where it functions as a regular car. It has a hovercraft mode when it lifts, rotorcraft mode, and it has the airplane, like a biplane mode, when it flies forward. The switch between all 3 modes, that's where the tech and the trick is.
Okay, Jim, let's get down to basics here. How much?
So we're pre-selling it for $300,000. It's right now, and we understand it's not going to be affordable to a lot of people initially. That's because we're still a startup, a small startup, and it costs us a lot to make one. As we grow in the number of cars which we produce, we can eventually, that's not going to be next year, that's not going to be in 5 years, but eventually we can get it to the price cheaper than Toyota Corolla or Ford Focus because it's a simpler vehicle. Hence, it should be cost less to produce.
So it's sort of like big screen TVs that were really expensive at the beginning.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you said not next year, not 5 years, but how long before do you think, are you anticipating before it is, the price of an economy car?
Sure. So pretty soon, I think, again, from 2 to 5 years, we can drop the price at least in half and be kind of similar to Tesla X. That's because with optimized manufacturing. But after that, it will go slowly because we need to get to the numbers of Toyota, Ford, or everything, and that will take probably a long time.
If Charles bought this, say, and we live, in the LA area, and you buy it, could you actually, like in this city on Ventura Boulevard, just go up in the air and
and what's the ceiling?
Cruise?
What's the limit in altitude?
Could we do it today? Could we do it today?
In Los Angeles, no. Outside of Los Angeles, in urban areas where there is no high-density population, yes, the version we're showing is called ultralight version. It has a limited range, obviously. It's more of a demo limited range version. So that particular version, you can fly in the non-densely populated areas with not a lot of people around with other kind of restrictions. Eventually, yes, you should be able to, but we're gradually getting there. Again, not next year, not in 2 years.
By the way, what's the range on it?
For Model A, the maximum flight range is 110 miles. Maximum driving range is 200 miles.
Wow.
It's not a lot, but it's good for commute, and it's not
That's great. That's great.
And now here's a very important question. When we are driving a car and it runs out of gas, the car stops.
Oh, good question.
What happens technically in the Model A when you have hit your limit on range and you're midair?
Yeah, so first of all, you never run out of gas because it's 100% electric. That being said, there's a lot of safety innovation, safety modernization in aviation is actually also happening. So number one, well, the worst case scenario, there's actually a ballistic parachute. It's so lightweight and even ultralight and the Model A, that the full ballistic parachute just slowly would land your car. It has 4 times more redundancy than most or any aircraft which you see today. There's a system redundancy, intersystem redundancy. If there's going to be a 20-25% left in charge, it will actually slowly land you also. So there are multiple technology innovations in aircraft which do not exist, well, not widely used today, at least. And like I said, the worst case scenario, it will just slowly land you with a ballistic parachute because it's so lightweight.
All right.
Well, look, I got to tell you, I've been waiting for something like this for many decades after watching the Jetsons.
You still may be waiting.
But you have at least fulfilled the dream that I always had about something like this existing. And all my friends growing up, we always talked about the Jetsons. So you're my hero today, just so you know.
Thank you. So my hero is my father, Joseph Duchovny, who loved science fiction, and he gave the life of science fiction to me from, it's mostly Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, Clark Shackley. And this is what we try to do. Me and my three co-founders, Oleg, Pavel, and Konstantin, build it. Most of our fathers loved science fiction, and that was the initial idea when we started 10 years ago.
Really cool.
Well, science fiction
hey,
now,
congrats.
science reality.
Congrats.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you so much, guys.
Looking forward to the innovations.
My dream would be being on the Ventura Freeway in bumper-to-bumper traffic.
I don't want you
going up in the air and just saying, in your face, as I just go over all the cars.
I don't want you to take this the wrong way.
But
I have seen the way you drive on the road.
Stop.
And I'm kind of happy that you probably won't be able to own one of these.
Okay, so he's just given me my death sentence.
I didn't. I said
yes,
you won't be able to drive
it.
Yes,
he did.
I said it in a kinder way.
Sentence. We're taking a break.
All right.
Maybe back, maybe not.
When one of us comes back, at least, Euphoria star Hunter Schafer finds out that Trump means business. What he said about your passport is absolutely true, that it must match your birth certificate. The transgender actress is going to tell you what happened when she tried to get a new passport. Welcome back to TMZ Live. One of the first things that President Trump said once he was in office is that from now on, there are only
two sexes.
Two sexes, two genders. You're either male or female, and your documents have to match whatever was on your birth certificate. He basically just said, if you're transgender,
we're not counting.
We don't recognize that.
Right.
Some people might have thought that that was just big talk, some bluster, hyperbole from the president. Well, one of the stars of Euphoria just found out,
real talk.
It is real talk. Hunter Schafer, who plays Jules on Euphoria, if it ever comes back, and they say it is. But she is transgender, and she put in an application to renew her passport. Said she filled out everything, but she just got it back, and a little rude awakening. Here's what she said.
My new passport, male. I filled everything out just like I normally would. I put female, and when it was picked up today and I opened it up, they had changed the marker to male. This is the first time, excuse me, this has happened to me since I changed my gender marker. We're coming up on a decade now or something. And I do believe it is a direct result of the administration our country is currently operating under.
Of course, that's what it is. It has to be that,
course,
right? Because her previously had a passport that said female.
So now think about it. So she goes to passport control, and they look at this, and it says male, and then they look at her, and then what do?
It does create, it seems like that's going to create an issue.
Of course it is.
When she's actually traveling.
Of course it is.
Yeah, and she did point out in the video that this is now going to create difficulties for when she's traveling, and basically it's outing her to border agents. And
she's going to have a very uncomfortable conversation now with customs.
But it's not even uncomfortable. I mean, what she's got to say is, look, I'm a transgender person. I am a female after birth, and they're going to look at her and say, are you a security threat? Are you trying to disguise yourself? Are we going to let you through? There's an irregularity. So those are the consequences of all of this.
Yeah, and imagine if she goes to another country that's not accepting of transgender people, and they're seeing this. Maybe now she feels like that could be a threat or dangerous for her life or her security. She had pointed out in her video, too, that, like, look, she says, like, I'm white, I'm famous, I have a lot of visibility, and that doesn't protect me from anything. That doesn't help my case. Like, this could happen to anybody.
You know, the Trump administration came out and said, look, we have nothing against transgender people, but we believe in this thing about two sexes. How is it not against transgender people with something like this?
Well,
because
it does feel like it just wasn't thought through. And I get it if that's the president's belief and his supporters' belief that there are only two genders and that's it, and we're not going to recognize anyone. That's fine for you to have that thought, but at least think it through about how it will actually affect the lives of the people who.
And look, this just becomes a culture war. I mean, there are so few people that this affects. And there are so many things going on in this country. To take it this far, it is just a culture war. It's a statement, and I think there are bigger things to worry about.
Madison, California. I'm honestly so sad for Hunter and so many people going through something like this right now. I think that having your identity misrepresented on something like a professional document, like your passport, is not only inconvenient, it's dehumanizing. Everybody deserves to be represented for who they are, despite who they are. And it's sad that it's such a hard battle for so many people right now. I think that what she said definitely is valid. Nobody is immune to this right now. Somebody with a big platform and so many resources like her is going through something like this. It goes to show that people without as much assets and resources and visibility could be going through this, and nobody is able to help out. It's a real shame.
That could be. They're going to.
And we're going to move from passports to visas.
Yes, and Prince Harry's visa, or his application for a U.S. visa, that is about to go public. Big portions of it. Because a federal judge approved the Department of Homeland Security releasing those documents. Now, the judge said there will be redactions, but this is all about, again, just seems very petty, but this is about figuring out, people want to be able to, certain people want to nail Prince Harry, they think, for lying on his visa application.
There's a question in the visa application whether you have been a drug user in the past. That's the way the question is framed. Harry, in his book Spare, has talked about the fact that he's used cocaine, used marijuana,
mushrooms.
And now the question, how did he answer that question? So the intimation here is, if he said, no, I'm not a drug user, but he said that in the book, is that lying on a visa application and grounds for deportation? So that's the essence of this whole thing.
Right.
I'm not sure if they define what drug user means, because does that mean somebody who is addicted to drugs, somebody who uses it every day, every week? That seems a little bit vague.
Again, what you said about culture war. I mean, even if he did lie. All right, let's just take it and say he did lie. Is anyone concerned about Prince Harry being a threat?
Well, you know what's interesting about it? It may not be about Harry. Maybe about Meghan. Because Trump doesn't like Meghan.
He's made it very clear he doesn't like, and she doesn't like him. But so this is all just a revenge thing?
Yeah, it's all just. I mean, it's being called for by conservative politicians, this inquiry into his status, because there's a revenge thing happening. But at the same time, if he was asked a question on the immigration form and he lied, I get it that we may think the lie's not a big deal because we're very tolerant of drug use and everything else. But you can't lie on your intake forms, right? You can't do it. And if you do, there are consequences to that. I think the whole thing.
No, I hear what you're saying, but if you do it to Harry, then all right, are we going to go through everyone's visa applications and we're going to...
Are you singling him out?
Oh, clearly we are singling him out. No question about it. We are looking into him specifically because of negative things he said about the president.
It feels like, there's a concept in the law called selective prosecution. And if they go to court to deport him, it seems to me that's on the table, Jason.
I have no idea whether or not people who are facing deportation are subject to have a grounds to say selective prosecution. It is weird, though. He has an American wife and American children living in this country. The idea that we are based on a failure to tell the truth about drug use in your past, you are somehow going to be deported and not be able to have contact with your children is just bananas.
All right, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, Luigi Mangione is in a New York City court, and there is an incredible circus around his appearance. It was brief, but there were people who waited hours and hours and hours just to get a glimpse of him. Luigi Mangione in court in New York City this morning for his first hearing. This is not the federal case. This is New York State against Luigi Mangione for the murder of
Go back to, let's see that, more of that video.
But this walk in there, was something that was...
Is he wearing a bulletproof vest?
He is. Had a bulletproof vest, a total of 6 guards around him, shackled as he came into court. But there were... this was the view that people wanted to see, and they wanted to see it so badly, they waited overnight. Hundreds of people waiting to get into the court, hoping to get a seat there. But there were people in the courtroom during the hearing, which lasted about 30 minutes, and some of those people were shouting support for him, which obviously the judge did not take kindly to, but that was the scene inside the court. And this was really about a battle between his attorney, Luigi's attorney, and the DA as far as documentation being turned over. In fact, Karen Friedman-Agnifilo said that the DA's office has been dragging its feet on getting documents to them. She called out not only the DA, but Mayor Adams.
And called him out because he was on an HBO documentary on Luigi's case and apparently was sitting in the makeup chair.
And like he found time to be in hair and makeup and do this documentary.
She's been after Adams since this perp walk, where Adams was following. Unclear why Adams would show up for a perp walk along with 100 other people.
Right.
But it's pretty clear, actually.
So, yeah, I mean, we know what he was doing, and that's exactly what she's been calling
She
him out
also
for.
said there were optics issues, that when she visits him and talks to him in prison, or in jail, he is not shackled.
Yeah.
But when he's in court, they shackle him.
They do this, and she actually asked the judge while in court, she said, there's no reason for him to be in shackles. Can we not remove them? The judge refused, and she made the point she feels like he's being treated differently, that this is to make him look more dangerous while he's during his trial.
Which is usually a concern. You want to make sure the defendant gets a fair trial, but I actually think it's going to be hard to impanel a jury that will not be overly supportive of someone like Luigi. When you see the outpouring of support, when you look outside and there's these Renaissance posters of him with a halo over his head as a martyr, I'm wondering whether the prosecution thinks they can get a fair shake at actually convicting him.
Yeah, it is interesting, though, as this was going on, you have all these billboards. You saw that one we showed you that was on the side of a truck driving by the courthouse. But someone actually spent the money for a much larger billboard that went up on the side of a building. All of this playing out around the city.
You know what really strikes me about this? When this happened, this is all people talked about. And it just feels like since the first of the year, there has
so
been
much else has happened.
A flurry of news and craziness and violence that it's like, oh yeah, Luigi Mangione.
Yeah. Oh, remember that guy?
Yeah.
It does seem like a long, long time ago. It really wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm Marie Lebetter from Fort Smith, Arkansas. I get the healthcare system is broken, and some people think Luigi's a savior who should be set free. They showed up at his court case today. They also put up that billboard. But at the end of the day, America is a nation of laws and not of men. If you support unlawful executions of corporate executives, you should consider a check on your own humanity.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way the system supposedly works.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the way a lot of people feel it should work, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Taking a break.
All right. When we come back, Diddy gets a big shakeup. Some legal drama for him. Not a new lawsuit. This drama is on his own team. We will tell you the big shakeup, but less than 3 months before his trial begins. Welcome back to TMZ Live. Thanks for stepping in, man.
You're welcome.
I don't know where Harvey
Charles.
went.
I don't either. He just walked away. He left.
Be here. Guy had enough. I'm kidding. He's working on something. Anyway, Diddy has gotten a big shakeup on his legal team, or at least that is how people are reading it. Remember, he is less than 3 months away from his federal case going into court, and one of his attorneys filed documents this morning withdrawing from the case. Anthony Rico filed these documents and said that he can no longer effectively, that's a quote, can no longer effectively represent Diddy. He said, under no circumstances can I continue to effectively serve as counsel for Sean Combs, consistent with the ABA standards for criminal justice.
Obviously pretty shocking with, his trial approaching just a few months away. But obviously it's not his lead counsel, but we're told, we spoke to some people that are familiar with the case. And essentially the reason why he bailed was that he just had no relationship with Diddy and just felt like he wasn't close enough to him to effectively defend him in this case.
Which makes it sound like, and again, in the documents that he filed, he said, it is necessary for me to make this explanation brief because I don't want to violate attorney-client privilege.
Right.
But what we are being told makes it sound like there was some issue, something or someone would not allow him to get as close to Diddy and get the information he needed from Diddy.
Right. To therefore effectively defend him. But I don't know. A lot of people, Charles, are going to look at this. They're going to say, okay, does this mean that he doesn't believe that Diddy's innocent? I think it's hurtful to their case. Right. Maybe not in court,
and
but
because he can't say that, because he can't say what it is, you're right. It allows the public, has all sorts of things going through their head. We did talk to some people close to Diddy who told us that they're not in any crisis, as some people have painted it. They said they think there's not much to see here. Because his lead counsel, his two lead counselors, Mark Agnifilo and Tenny Garagos, have been on the case for almost a year and nothing has changed. Right. So they're moving ahead and the case will not be delayed. It's still scheduled to begin first week in May.
It's going to be a massive case.
What else do you guys want to talk about?
Hi, my name is Gigi from Montreal, and I'd like to talk about Eric Mabius from Ugly Betty and the bar fight he was in. It's always shocking to me to see celebrities get into these situations knowing it's going to end up on the news and affect their reputation. It looks like he was defending the woman next to him and it escalated. Looks pretty rough, but we'll see what happens.
It's been said in this, when we saw the video, when we got the video in this morning, someone said, never step in between two women who are fighting, especially if you're on crutches. One more.
Hey, this is Jess calling from Vegas. I'm going to be talking about the Menendez brothers interview. And given the high-profile nature of this case, it's not surprising that the brothers may have been targeted behind bars. The Menendez brothers are known for their privileged upbringing, so being kind of thrusted into this prison environment, we're all interested in this story and their experience, so we're all paying close attention.
We'll see next month if they get out. All right, when we come back, A$AP Rocky and Rihanna still celebrating not only his acquittal, but her birthday and a big business deal for him. We're going to tell you who he's working with now when we come back. Rihanna and A$AP Rocky had no lack of things to celebrate last night when they hit Nice Guy, went out in West Hollywood here, hit that hot spot, and of course, as you'd expect, tons of cameras outside to greet them. It was Rihanna's 37th birthday, so they were celebrating that last night. That was the immediate thing. There was his acquittal, obviously, earlier in the week. And one more thing. Remember, his attorney, Joe Tacopina, told us that there were all sorts of business deals that were held up waiting for this case to end. One of them dropped this morning. That is Ray-Ban. He is now creative director, the first time they've had a creative director.
Think about that. He could have been doing 24 years in prison, like getting out as a 60-year-old man. Instead, he's at the Nice Guy celebrating Rihanna's birthday. Got this big gig.
By the way, wearing Ray-Bans on the way out.
Of course. And they needed him, too, with all those flashes.
Yeah, that is going to do it for us. We will see you next week. Take care.